Hello, hello. I'm live again with you guys this Sunday. Wow, what a week. What a crazy week. Hopefully y'all had a better week than Pierre Poilievre had. What a crazy week. We saw the budget. McCartney finally dropped the budget at long last, Only took 6 months after the election or whatever. But we finally got the budget. So we did a live show on that, a little impromptu live show. Thank you to those of you who joined me for that show. But surprisingly, the budget was only was probably less dramatic than whatever is going on within the Conservative Party right now. If someone knows what's going on in the Conservative Party, somebody tell me. Tell me what is going on in the Conservative Party of Canada. Because if you're not aware of what's going on, the Conservatives had one of their MPs, Chris D'Entremont, cross the floor to the Liberals this week. Also, barely a day later, not even maybe 2 days, we saw another MP, another MP, Matt General, who was rumored to be considering crossing the floor to the Liberals as well. We saw that he decided he would be resigning as an MP altogether. So I don't understand what is going on within the Conservative Party of Canada. But then, obviously, my opinion is that obviously, if the rumors are true, what I'm hearing here is that, well, people don't like Pierre Poilievre's leadership style. That is what we're hearing, right? Uh, Yo, hello, Bravehearts. Welcome to the show again today. Welcome to the show. Always lovely to have you. Everybody, Adoy Fashion, hi, hi, hi. Welcome to the show. So, I want to know what do you guys think? I think Pierre Poliev is done because there's only one more thing that needs to happen now, and if one more MP crosses or somehow the I mean for as far as the budget goes, the Liberals are going to scale through that easy, right? Which is crazy because last week at the very least, we were all talking about will the Liberals get enough votes to pass their budgets and all of that crazy stuff. This week, all we've talked about is what the fuck is going on within the Conservative Party. So, do you guys think Pierre Poilievre is done? I want to know. That's the first question I want to ask you guys today. Do you think it's gone? He's done? Because I get it. There are lots of hardcore conservatives who have told me this week that, well, the whole idea of Pierre Poilievre being done is just being overblown by the media. Nothing is really going on. He is perfect. He's done more for the party than anybody has done for decades. All of that good stuff. I think Pierre Poilievre is done, and if he isn't done, I don't see the point of Pierre Poilievre in the sense that I don't believe that if an election is held today, that Pierre Poilievre is going to beat Mark Carney. And if we don't see Pierre Poilievre beating Mark Carney, my entire point is, what is the point? What is the point of Pierre Poilievre retaining leadership if, as we see it at the moment, there is no hope of him defeating McCartney? So that is my premise. Hey, my guy Fox Club. Hello, hello. Braveheart says PP is on life support, but he's not yet done. So the question I'm asking you guys today to start off is Pierre Poilievre done? And there's I'm going somewhere with this, but I want to get your thoughts on this. I think Pierre Poilievre is done. That is my opinion. I appreciate that it might take the Conservative Party a little bit of time to come to the same conclusion. But my point is, if there is no hope, and we can't see a world where he defeats McCartney one-on-one in an election, because as I've said several times, as far as strategy goes, the Conservatives keep getting bested by the Carney-led Liberals. So something is wrong with the strategy. Something is wrong with their leadership, whoever with the person they're putting forward. But I do not see a Conservative Party led by Pierre Poilievre defeating a Carney-led Liberal team. It just seems like they are outmatched. That is my opinion. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you think Pierre Poilievre is done? And I'm happy for you to have a different opinion if you're a conservative and all of that. Okay, so Margaret says, don't know where you get your ideas from, but you need psychiatric help. Your opinion is rubbish. Welcome to the show, Margaret. So, and this is the beauty of this show, right? Everybody gets an opinion. Everybody gets an opinion. Um, what I was hoping for there, Margaret, is that you would express your opinion on why Pierre Poilievre is not done in your book, and that's okay. It's okay for you to disagree with me. It's okay for you to not have the same opinion. That's okay. That's okay. I'm not looking for sheep on this channel. I'm looking for people with their own minds, their own thoughts, and then we can have a proper discussion. Okay? Uh, Fox Club said, "I think he is. I know I don't believe like I once did," and that is exactly the way that is where I am today. It is not wonderful news to be hearing people coming out of the like Chris D'Entremont. I mean, you would expect Chris D'Entremont to try and make himself look better, but today he was on Rosemary Barton live on CBC, and Chris D'Entremont said the Conservative Party felt like a frat club, a frat house. It didn't feel like a serious party. He felt like his talents were wasted there. It felt like as an MP, he didn't get as much input into what was going on. That was what Chris D'Entremont said. Now, you have to admit to yourself that it does not look good for, in the case of Matt Generou, it does not look good that an MP voted barely 6 months ago decided, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be out of here. I think I'm going to resign 6 months ago, right? Okay, so I think Pierre Poilievre is done, but at the same time, I think this represents, again, as I said, this is my opinion. I'm happy for you to have a different one. That is okay. As I say, this channel is meant to bring together people with different ideas, and we can share ideas that way. So I think that Pierre Poilievre by this time next year should not be leader of the Conservative Party. Clearly, if you're a conservative, you have a different perspective, and I welcome you to have that perspective. Braveheart says it will take a great surgical team to resuscitate him. How do we go from liberal on chopping block to PP circling the drain? And that is the thing. I touched on this during the week in the sense that the liberals, at least led by Carney, seems to have this core strategy that Pierre Poilievre cannot seem to defeat. But you know what? What I want to say about this is that if Pierre Poilievre is indeed done, this represents an opportunity for Canada as a whole. And I'll tell you why I say that. I'll tell you why I say that. Not because I know there are a lot of Pierre Poilievre is good in the sense that he has gotten. I don't think there's anybody that's sitting there, whether you love or you hate Pierre Poilievre, he's gotten us to care. And a lot of people will say, do I? The Fox Club is asking. Okay, so Adoy Fashion, I should go to you first. Says he can still be a leader, but he needs a better team. Well, you see, the problem with Pierre Poilievre, as I hear, is that he doesn't use his team. He's got them on a tight leash, as I hear. It's the same way you kind of hear rumors about McCartney being like a bit of a temperamental, a bit of a hothead. Yeah, the same way you hear rumors a little bit about Pierre Poilievre not really using his team, keeping people on like a tight leash, and that works out good when you're 25 points in the lead in the polls and you're the best thing since friggin' sliced bread. But when you have lost an election that where you were 25 points in the lead, lost your own seat, and someone had to give up a seat for you, when you are losing MPs, it doesn't look so good when you have such tight reins on control. Okay, so I don't mind Pierre Poilievre as leader of the Conservative Party. I guess my thing is, do I see him who he is and the he's so like set in his ways, do I see him ever defeating Makani in a one-on-one? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, so I like this. I like this comment from you, Jim Sotirakos. That sounds like a Greek name. Correct me if I've missed that. But Jim says my sources say the party loves him and he will be the next prime minister. That is perfectly fine that you believe that. That is perfectly fine that you believe that. I, as I said, I welcome you to have your own opinion. But as I said, I think strategically something is off with his team. Like, how did we go from instead of talking about the budget this week? How are we talking about people leaving Pierre Poilievre's team? Well, how is the discussion so skewed that we're talking about Pierre Poilievre? And don't tell me it's because the media did this and did that, right? That is a you can say, oh, you find that you're making excuses for Pierre Poilievre more often than not because you'll be like, okay, the media did this now. Okay, what about during the election when the narrative clearly changed and he couldn't respond? Well, that's on him, right? Anyways, let me get back to your comments here. Fox Club said, do you think Smith, so by Smith, he means Danielle Smith, has more ability to connect with the states on the new trade deal? You know what? I don't think there is anybody in the world that can make claims about having an ability to connect with the states on a new trade deal. I do not think that having a Daniel Smith in there or even a Pierre Poilievre in there would have made any difference whatsoever because you only have to look around the world. Look around the world, consider how many trade deals does Donald Trump have right now? How many trade deals does Donald Trump actually have? You know, one day we hear he's fighting with China again. The next day we hear they signed a deal. What do these deals even mean, right? Okay, they signed a deal with Europe, and what we hear from Europe is the fact that Europe said, oh, we didn't actually this thing about spending this much money, investing this much money in the United States is not actually binding. And we look at the deal that they actually signed, and it was a shit deal. It was a shit deal. The UK as well. They get a quarter on cars. Shit deal. So I don't think there's anybody that can sit there and say, oh, Daniel Smith would be better. She did her very best to get a carve out on oil when the tariffs were first placed. Imagine the Americans are charging us 10% on oil right now for a resource that they need, right? That they're already getting at a discount. It's crazy. Yeah. So I personally don't think it's a function of the leader, and I think in that sense, Pierre Poilievre and Makani have the same idea in the sense that Canada needs to diversify, and we need to grow our home base. We need to grow our home base. Enough of this shit with 13 economies instead of one. Enough of this people going off on their own and doing their own thing. We need to function as a country and not whatever we're doing right now, right? Okay, so Lift Busby says, so he flipped. I want to talk about that with you guys. Do you think that MP should be allowed to cross the floor? Because obviously, in our system here, technically you're voting for the MPs, right? You're not technically voting for the party. Although by default, a lot of people do vote for the party. But do you think that MPs should be allowed to cross the floor? Because obviously, there's been talk that, about Christian Tremont that, oh, this is a betrayal. How dare he? The people of Nova Scotia voted a conservative. How dare he choose to cross the floor and become a liberal? Those are not the ideals that the people of Nova Scotia voted for. Do you think that MPs should be allowed to cross the floor? Okay, so Joe Brown says these conservative YouTubes are making the party look stupid, but not all conservative channels. Okay, jeez, um, that's funny. Um, I don't like I obviously on this channel I try and keep it somewhat balanced That's why you notice I would never tell you which party to support or whatever, whoever you are, come as you are. We're fine. We accept everybody here, right? What I do not like and what I see across right wing YouTube channels is a certain delusion. Like, I'll give you an example. During the election, even when it was obvious that Pierre Poilievre was not doing well, there was still this delusion that he was somehow in the box seat to win a majority, right? Now, even now, what it seems obvious to me that Pierre Poilievre is done, but it looks like it will take the conservative, the right wing media a little bit of time to realize this. It seems obvious to me, right? But I'm happy for you not to agree with this. But it seems obvious to me that Pierre Poilievre is done, right? Anyways, so I don't know. I don't know what it is with conservative with right wing YouTube channels, or maybe it just comes with support in general. They will support their guy till the very end, and that is one of the things, to be fair, that I really admire about people that are right wing. They will follow. They will follow whoever it is they believe in till the very end. Although, to be fair, Donald Trump is getting the opposite side of that right now. He seems to have really lost a lot of the support that he had during the election. I want to catch up on your comments. Adoy Fashion says the conservative need better team of managers and strategists. The liberals have this what moo button. Okay, I imagine, I think you mean like an idiot button, right? Okay, so the conservative need better team of managers and strategists. The liberals have his idiot button because they keep out strategizing them, and it is diabolical. Braveheart says Canada has no power to bring Trump to the table. That is precisely the point. That we don't have a lot of room to bargain. We don't have a lot of chips to play. And so that's why you see Donald Trump is the kind of person that will press the advantage. As you clearly see, is the kind of person that will press the advantage when he has it, right? And I wish we had more leverage, and I hope eventually with some of the things McCartney's trying to do with making deals elsewhere, that we get to a point where we actually have more leverage in this particular relationship. It feels like an abusive relationship to me at this point. Leaf Buzz B says, I've watched the CBC flip through three leaders. Never have liberal supporters say they like the conservatives. They always paint them as evil with every leader. Oh yeah, do I remember Stephen Harper? That is true. That is true. That is true. And that is a good point for me to. I'm going to segue into this now, and that is true because the you could say that Andrew Scheer and Erin O'Toole were relatively less polarizing leaders, right? And when you ask people the reason why they didn't vote for Pierre Poilievre, a lot of people will say, "Oh, he's so polarizing. He's a negative Nancy." Okay, that's probably the most popular one. He's depressing because he always draws on the negatives. That is what a lot of people will say. But what's he supposed to do, right? What is he supposed to do, really, as the leader of the opposition, trying to draw light, trying to shine a light on the issues that are going on, and trying to and maybe, in my opinion, where Pierre Poilievre probably fails is in his proposal of solutions. Some of the solutions he proposes might appear to be things that maybe don't bring us forward to the points that we want to be. Maybe that is what it is. But by and large, I think the reason a lot of people, the reason. Okay, that's it. There's a funny comment here, but let me get through all your comments actually. By and large, a lot of people voted against Pierre Poilievre because maybe they didn't. Really, a lot of people said they just didn't like the persona. They just didn't like what he stood for. A lot of people said, "Oh, he would cut a bunch of services." Newsflash: ironically, um, a lot. For example, he lost his Carlton riding because apparently he said he was going to cut a bunch of public services, and the people in his riding did not like that. Well, guess what? Makani's doing exactly that now, right? Anyways, let me catch up on your comments. I want to talk more about this comment that Leaf Busby said though, because yes, you're right. Because every single conservative leader gets painted with this evil brush, right? And so it leaves the conservatives in a very difficult position. Do you go back to an Erin O'Toole type of leader who didn't win against a drama teacher, against a drama teacher, and or you go even to be fair, Andrew Scheer is a little bit polarizing as well, especially recently. He's gotten a lot more into like the dark arts of politics, of politicking a little bit. He has gotten a new obsession. He's got a newfound obsession with McCartney, and you should see his YouTube page. It's pretty interesting. Um, but anyways, I don't know where the conservatives go there, but I'll tell you in a moment where I would like to see the conservatives go. But you guys tell me where would you like to see the conservatives go? As Brandon Smith comes in hot there, says Poilievre isn't done. I mean that's your opinion. That's your opinion, and that's okay. But where what I asked you guys earlier is if he isn't done, okay, what is the point of keeping him around if I don't see him beating a Carney-led liberal team? That's my thought. Okay, my observation is that I do not see a conservative party led by Pierre Poilievre defeating McCartney. That is just my opinion. Okay. Um. Okay. Where was I? Where was I? Fox Club said, "Do interprovincial tariffs hurt trade throughout Canada?" Um, I would say they do. They are barriers, and you can also think about it as certain. I'm trying to think of an example here, but yeah, the longer short of this is that interprovincial trade barriers, they do hurt trade throughout Canada, which is why the Carney Liberals are trying to they've passed the One Canadian Economy Act in order to try and harmonize some of the regulations and some of the certificates even for labor mobility and some of those things in order to allow for interprovincial trade fluidity, right? So it does. Interprovincial trade barriers do hurt trade throughout Canada. In fact, you might have heard McCartney say that if, just by dropping our interprovincial trade barriers and functioning as one economy, Canada can actually like counter the cost of the tariffs that Donald Trump is putting on us right now, which is really immense. Is crazy to me. To be fair, even Pierre Poilievre said this in the lead up to the election. If you didn't catch that, so this is something we all agree on, but it is just difficult to implement because while the Carney Liberals have passed the One Canadian Economy Act, at the same time, the provinces still need to get a move on and actually create the One Canadian Economy. Unless the provinces sign up and get on board and actually do the work, it's just a it's just a piece of paper, right? Braveheart says, I don't think MPs should be allowed to cross. If they are, there should be a okay. So there should be a set time. So you're saying that MPs should not be able to cross, and this is something I've been hearing recently. Some people have said, well, you should not be allowed to cross at least maybe a year after the election. All those kinds of things. But the way I see it, which is what I was going to tell you guys about, is we vote for the MPs, right? That is when you go to the. What I mean is when you go to the election, when you go to the ballot, sorry, and you go to vote, you don't have Pierre Poilievre's name on the ballot. What you have is the name of your MP. You vote for your MP, right? So technically, you're voting for the MP. And if the MP chooses to cross the floor and you feel that they have crossed to a party that no longer represents you, we have a check in place where at the next election, if that MP chooses to stand for election, you get to kick them out. So a person like Christian Tremont, despite having served his riding for what 20 years, I don't know the exact number of years now, but despite having served that long, he may stand for election well, next time, whenever the next election is, and his people will get to judge whether they don't agree with the ideals he now stands for, right? I think that that works fine, right? Because otherwise, what you get is a situation where if an MP crosses the floor, the people have to be dragged to a potentially a costly election, and for what? For what? Right? I don't think it is necessary to have a by-election every time someone crosses the floor. To be fair, it doesn't happen that frequently. It happens a lot more than you think, but it doesn't happen that frequently. But I think if they feel that in our democratic system, if they feel like they are not represented where they are, I think cross the floor and then you face the people when the time comes. If you're new to this channel, this is the Wolf of Young Street podcast. We're live every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Everybody's welcome here, whether you're conservative or a liberal. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new. Anyways, let's move on. Robert Schmuck Down Friday. That is a wild name, buddy. Buddy said he's telling me, buddy, give up the dope. I'm not on dope, my guy. I'm clean. And uh, Robert Smackdown says, Poilievre is the man for Canada. Okay, he's the man for you at the very least. Connie is a separatist. Connie is not a separatist. That I gotta call you on. Connie is not a separatist. And you saw lack the intelligence to judge people. Okay, thank you. Whatever. I don't know how you're judging this, but good luck to you, my friend. He says, why not invite Poilier for a debate? Because he won't come on a channel with 1,000 subscribers. I don't know what you're looking. What do you want from me, bro? I I see. As I said, this is my opinion. You don't have to take it any more seriously than it is. Okay, it is my opinion. And we all have those, right? Those are free. Uh, Brandon Smith says Poilievre isn't done. Laughing my ass off. Okay. I remind you when I'm right again, as I tend to be. Braveheart says I like PP's persona, but he needs to talk to his team and get a better strategist. They need to break out. I don't think PP is polarizing. To be fair, as I said, I don't mind Pierre Poilievre. I don't know why people think I don't like him. I don't mind him as an opposition leader. Do I think he's the right person to lead the country right now? I don't really know. I don't really know. I can't say I can't say I don't believe that in this moment that I don't believe that he's the right person. He's probably Pierre Poilievre is probably unlucky in the sense that we're in a moment where what he is trying to do probably wouldn't be enough in the situation that we're in as a country, right? I'll give you an example. He wants to he's very much focused on the national debt right now. Well, unfortunately, we're in a situation where if you try to balance the national debt right now, well, you end up cutting a whole bunch of services at a time when people are really, really struggling. Okay, so is he able to actually deliver on that? I would argue probably no. If you provide people the support that they need, right? If you're talking about cutting taxes, well, we've seen McCartney try and cut taxes as a way of like, well, he has cut some taxes. He has in his budget he provided certain what's it called? Certain incentives for companies to invest in Canada. Okay, is that going to significantly improve things? Well, we'll see. But that is along the lines of what Pierre Poilievre was promising in his campaign. So is Pierre Poilievre the guy to lead? I'm not too sure right now, but I like him as an opposition leader. I do not dislike Pierre Poilievre, guys. Anyways, um, you guys are really chatty today. I like that though. I like it. But what I wanted to get into today is someone was talking about whether you believe Pierre Poilievre is done or is not done. Okay, so this is an interesting one. I want to get into this. Brandon Smith says one of the latest polls said Poilievre is the best conservative candidate to go against Carney. That is where we need to go next. And that is the fundamental difficulty that the conservatives have right now, in the sense that if not Pierre Polyev, now if if you go if you step away from Pierre Polyev, who takes over? Now, I would like to see. I think if Polyev is indeed done, as I've said, well, I think that represents an opportunity for Canada, because I did a thing today. I went and looked at all the prime ministers Canada has had, and I kid you not, up until we got to Justin Trudeau, the drama teacher, the teacher, um, we there was once upon a time we had accomplished people, people who had done stuff leading this country. We didn't have we had actual like people who had done stuff. Stephen Harper or is an economist, right? And now I think the solution the I would like to see the conservatives come up with is one where maybe they get someone in the mold of a McCartney type of person, someone who is not part of the establishment as you see it, someone new, someone from the outside who has some pedigree that they can put up against McCartney. That is what I would like to see. That is what I want to see, right? I want to see people who have actually like I mean, what was the major selling point of McCartney in the beginning, right? McCartney was sold as okay, he is this guy who has had tremendous experience in the private sector that he does. He is this guy who has you couldn't deny his role during the 2008 global financial crisis, which is true. All of these things are things that are undeniable. What I would like to see is somebody equally, I'm sure there is somebody out there, and you guys can put some names in the comments. I'm sure there's somebody out there with conservative values who is able to go blow for blow. Fox Close and bring back Harper. I'm sure there's people out there who are not going to be against that very much, you know. There's probably people out there that'll tell you, you know what, Harper's my guy, you know. Anyways, um, Liv Bosby says, I can tell you most conservatives hold full confidence in Pierre. I know, I know, I know, I know. Okay? I as I said, one of the things I admire the most about conservatives is that you guys are loyal. And I say you guys not as a liberal, I say you guys as a neutral observer. Right, conservatives are loyal, sometimes to a fault. You know, you guys will ride with your guy till the very end, till the bitter end. But my opinion here is I do not see a Polyev being able to defeat Kanye, which I think should be more important than him retaining the confidence of the caucus. Okay, that is my opinion. If he is not able to defeat Marconi, I'm sure he will tell you he can, right? If he is not the guy to defeat Marconi, what is the point? That is where I'm coming from. I'm not saying he's not a great candidate. I'm not saying he doesn't retain support, but I am saying like strategically he seems outmatched in my opinion. Anyways, Braveheart, I think I missed one of your comments here. Fox Club, thank you for the thumbs up there. Um, telling me keep up the great work. I appreciate that, buddy. Appreciate that. Braveheart says invite PP to the channel and see if people will come. So, you know, I tried to invite during the election. I tried to invite some liberals to come on the channel. I actually got one politician to come on the podcast one time, and it was a good discussion. You know, a few things I couldn't touch because you know you don't want to compromise them. This particular politician I got on the podcast was she contested in Alberta. She ended up losing that particular election, but it was nice to get someone on the podcast. I have tried as well to write to certain MPs to come on the channel, but again, you have to understand that channels like mine represent a danger for some of these politicians. Some of these politicians, um, don't like unscripted scenarios because they sometimes provide. Okay, all right. Ooh, Donna Lynn Marshall. My goodness, why are you going in on my guy PP though? Anyways, so Fox Love, you like to see Stephen Harper back. That's interesting. Um, okay, so Fox Love is saying we could go the celebrity route with Paul Gross. I don't know enough about. Oh yeah, I know Paul Gross is the guy from the movie. What was the name of that movie again? Uh I, I forget the name of the movie. Forget the name of the movie, but but that's funny. There are some ideas though. There was somebody last week suggested Michael Barrett. Michael Barrett is the current shadow minister on ethics, I think. Okay, so he might. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, as far as his policy positions are, I think obviously we'll find out if he does stand for election. But he's very much in favor of accountability in government. Those kinds of things. I've heard some people suggest Peter McKay. You might remember Peter McKay from it was a minister under Stephen Harper. I'm pretty sure. Um, former defense minister, former what was his other portfolio? But he served under Stephen Harper, and he has been out of politics. He has been out of politics for Fox Love. You're cracking me up here. But Peter McKay has been out of politics for since 2015. And he actually contested against Erin O'Toole for the leadership when Erin O'Toole ran. I think that was in 2020. I want to say that was in 2022 now, right before Poilievre. So so okay, so let's see. I want to catch up on your comment here. So Leaf Busby, those are some of the names I've heard. I've also heard. I don't know if you guys know Michelle Rempel Garner. Michelle Rempel Garner is someone whose name is also floating out there. Now, can she go on the national stage? I don't know, but she's a person that's she's the current shadow minister for immigration, and she's the lady that talks about about how we need to keep the value of Canadian citizenship. That's her portfolio recently. So she's very much in favor of getting more women into politics, all that kind of stuff. So Michelle Rapugana is another name I've seen out there. I've seen Peter McKay. I've seen Michael Barrett. Obviously, um, I do. I can't say I know. I can't say any of these people are better than Pierre Poliev because what Prepoliev is good at is he's very effective with his message. Now, whether you agree with that message or not, well, you with Pierre Poliev, you're never apathetic, and that is unfortunately what lost him the election. Because if he had a few more voters that didn't care, maybe those NDP people wouldn't have been so determined to keep him out of office to go vote with the liberals, right? But he inspires devotion in certain ways, but he also inspires quite a bit of antagonism. That is probably the problem that Pierre Polyev has. Um, so that's my answer to your question there, Leaf Busby. Donna Lynn says, imagine being a full-grown man and losing your seat and begging for another guy's seat, then vote against free lunches. Just oh my god, you just killed me with that. Oh wow, why did you have to do him like that, dude? Oh, I do see I see the irony in that. I do see the hypocrisy in that. It's a fair point. It is a fair point. You know, living for free of taxpayers and then denying free lunches is a bad look. I can say that. Braveheart says PP is able to defeat McCartney with the right team and strategists. If conservatives bring another candidate without changing their team and strategists, the liberals will find a way to paint them bad. But that that is, to be fair, you're right, and that is the strategy. Oh, that is the strategy hole that the conservatives need to fill, right? That is the strategy hole that the conservatives need to fill. My fear with Pierre Poilievre is that has that boat sailed, right? He Pierre Poilievre is the kind of guy that after the election he came out and said, "Well, there were certain lessons we learned. We're gonna do things differently." He did things differently for all of 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And then he was back and back to being the attack dog. That is his default setting. So my fear with Pierre Poilievre is that that ship might have sailed. That um the opportunity to redefine himself might be gone. That is my fear with Pierre Poilievre, right? Sometimes that's how she goes, right? Uh, Demetrius says the only right thing to do here is to bring Harper back. The only one who knows how to win and how to govern. Not much to think here. That would have been perfect to go up against Marconi. I would think that kind of person with that kind of gravitas would be the person. Unfortunately, I don't know that Stephen Harper wants to do that. He's making so much more money in the private sector. He is the kingmaker effectively in the Conservative Party. He probably is the guy that has to decide whether Poilievre is gone or not, right? So I mean, he's in a cushy spot. So unfortunately, and I would have loved to see that matchup of Pierre Poilievre, sorry, not Pierre Poilievre, Stephen Harper going up against McCartney. I think that would have been really interesting. But I imagine there are people within the Conservative Party with gravitas like that who are capable of going up against McCartney. Because I think that is what it will take to defeat a Carney-led liberal team. That is what I think it will take. Uh, Donnelly brings us into this discussion here. Um, no, MP should not be allowed to cross the floor. Okay, and you got to give me. I'm interested in sort of your reasoning there. Why do you think they should not be allowed to cross the floor? I'd be curious to hear your rationale there. I've obviously told you guys my rationale here. Leaf Busby says, I honestly wish the NDP would get back to their roots. Don't we all? Do we not? We all wish the NDP would get back to their pro worker roots. I mean, and I don't know, do better. I want to see a truly. We don't have the moment we don't have enough of what the NDP used to stand for. If I mean, to be fair, the liberals and the conservatives actually have eaten the NDP's lunch. I do not. I am terrified of seeing this country turn into a just a two-party system. I do not want to see that. In fact, I believe if Poilievre continues as the leader of the Conservative Party, we're looking at a one-party system. Because I mean, if he doesn't defeat McCartney for the next 10 years, you've effectively had the Liberals govern for 20 years. That would be god awful. So I want to see the and this is for all you people that think I hate Poilievre. If I truly could sit here and tell you that I believe that Pierre Poilievre will ever beat McCartney, I wouldn't even touch him. I don't mind him as an opposition leader. I think he draws attention to the issues that matter to people. Sometimes not in the most honest ways, but which politician is honest? But I think he draws attention to the things that matter to people. I like him as an opposition leader, but I don't think he is capable of defeating McCartney. That is my only qualm with keeping Pierre Poilievre as the leader of the Conservative Party. I'm going to catch up with your comments here. Where did I stop? Where did I stop? Okay, so I've missed my train here. I honestly okay, I already got that. I honestly wish the NDP will get back to their roots. By their wisdom, believe them. Ooh, that's a very WOYS handle. By the wisdom believe them says he wishes Pierre is talking about me here. He's talking about me. He says he wishes Pierre is done. He is probably paid to spout this slander to affect people's view. Ah, I'll say this one more time. Well, actually, I should say this before I say that one more time. I wish I was getting paid. I wish there was somebody who saw my 1,000 subscriber channel and decided it was worth paying me to spot some propaganda for them. I wish, you know, I wish people saw all the hard work that I actually do here to try and voice my opinions in a way that I think gives you guys the opportunity to form your own opinions as well. But I will say this again, as I always say. I voice my opinions based on how I see things. I am not in any way, as I said, this channel. If you find that you're a person that likes to be led or spoon fed, or you know, that is not my bag. That is not what I do here. Okay, I will never, and never is the key word. I will never tell you who to vote for or who to support. I will never tell you that the side you're on is evil. I will say vote what you believe in. That is all. Okay, that's not what this channel is. That is all I'll say. Okay, so all this talk of me getting paid. Speaking of getting paid, if you wanted to help me, if you wanted to pay me to speak some slander for the conservatives, there's actually a super thanks button right underneath the video. You can send a super thanks, you can send a super chat. That is your way of supporting the channel. It will get me to speak some good things about conservatives. Jeez, you guys crack me up sometimes. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on. What a funny guy. Um. Okay, so Fox Club said, should PP bring someone like Harper in, or build a team to, or build a team to? I'm not sure I get what you're saying here. But to be fair, I don't think Harper is that far away from what is going on in the Poilievre team right now. I don't imagine that the strategy is alien to Stephen Harper. I would imagine Stephen Harper is very. I think. See, I think that Poilievre was just really unlucky that the person he has to contest against is Makani. Because as much as you can try and discredit what Makani has done, what is undeniable is this. He served under Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper wanted him to stay. Stephen Harper has been complimentary of Makani. So how do you deny all that? Right? So I think in that sense, Pierre Poilievre has been a little bit unlucky. Now, the question is, how will the Conservatives counter what the Liberals have just put on the table in Marconi? That is the challenge that they have right now. Okay, so Braveheart says PP is really needed because he makes people care. He does, and that is one of the things I really like about him. There is no apathy where Poilievre exists, and I love that. I love that because I'm a person that I mean I am naturally interested in politics, but I think Poilievre has brought people into politics that normally you wouldn't even pay attention, right? He's the he and that comes from the fact that he is very good at articulating what matters to people. As I said, usually it's the solutions that he proposes that people don't tend to agree with, or maybe the way he voices the problems that is sort of depressing. But my point is that he brings eyes to Canadian politics. He makes it very interesting for me. I'll say that, right? Um, Getting back to your comment here, where did I stop? Okay, Fox Club said, "Do advisors in Canada have term limits?" Um, I don't know. I shouldn't swipe at that. By advisors, do you mean the campaign managers, or by I'm not sure what you mean by advisors here. But if you mean the campaign managers, I know Pierre Poilievre's campaign manager Jenny Byrne is I think she quit or resigned slash was fired, whatever happened there after the election. Um, and obviously, I think Erin O'Toole had a different campaign manager. At some point, one of the campaign managers was Hamish Marshall. I think that guy was from Rebel Media or something like that. So I think they bring on their own team, and they build the leadership team they want around themselves, and they go from there. I think that's what happens. Donald Lynn Marshall says, I like O'Toole and I'm a liberal. And that's the thing, right? Many people like O'Toole. Many people liked O'Toole. But I think part of the problem he had was, well, why did he lose again? I forget why O'Toole lost. But to be fair, O'Toole and Andrew Scheer actually won the popular vote in their time. In that sense, they did better on Pierre Poilievre actually. For those of you who are so big on Pierre Poilievre, in that sense, Aaron O'Toole and Andrew Scheer actually did better than Pierre Poilievre in the sense that they won the popular vote in their time, and for the most part, they're exactly in the same position that Pierre Poilievre is now, in the sense that we have a minority liberal government. So in that sense, a lot of people are like, "Oh, Pierre Poilievre did some extraordinary things for the Conservative Party." No, he didn't. I mean, sure, they got more votes than they've gotten ever. They got a lot of seats, but effectively, the situation is no different, maybe even slightly worse than it was under Andrew Scheer and Aaron O'Toole. I challenge you to prove me wrong. Anyways, um, let's move on. So, Leaf. Okay, where did I stop? Okay, Braveheart says, in your words, we need an attack dog. I did never once said, did I say we need an attack dog? Don't you put words in my mouth now. I don't think I said that. Or maybe after I said I think we need an attack dog, maybe I said we for a specific reason. Why are you trying to put me in trouble? Leaf Busby says, unfortunately, Pierre's messaging is still being written and shaped by the same person who came up with it during his campaign. She was left on as a campaign. Oh, Jenny Byrne is still with them? I thought she left. I thought she left Leaf Busby, but maybe you're right. Maybe Jenny Byrne is still there. Leaf Busby says, but just not campaign. Oh, I see. That's what you mean. Jenny Byrne is no longer the campaign manager, but she's still the strategist. They should fire her. That is my opinion too. Anyway, um, I think whoever ran a campaign where Pierre Poilievre effectively lost from a 25-point lead needs to not be involved in election campaigns going forward. That is my that is what I think here. I have a feeling this show is gonna go longer than the hour that I usually go, because you guys are actually pretty chatty today, and I wanna stay and chat with you guys. Today says, I'm seeing a rise in support for Polyev in the polls. Conservative supporters voted for Pierre and still support him. Yes, and as I said, Polyev, I mean, the conservatives are very, very loyal. I admire that about the conservatives. You said he was rising in the polls. I think I showed this last week, at some point in one of my videos. He's not rising in the polls. We're exactly where we were. There's a 2-point lead that the liberals have over the conservatives right now. That's not that far away from where we were during the election. Okay. The problem that the conservatives always have is that they lose a lot of the seats that are up for grabs in Ontario and in Quebec, and unless they're able to bridge that gap, they always end up falling short for that reason. Okay, but as far as the polls go, the liberals are actually still leading. Despite the fact that you say Polyev is rising in polls, that's what I've seen. But if you want to tell me which polls you're looking at, I'm happy to check that out. Leaf Crosby says, I'm not even a conservative. I'm a moderate. Kind of like all of us sane people. I think that the idea that people have to, and that is one of the reasons I created this channel. I think that this idea that you have to stick to one party, and whether you agree with what the leader is doing or not, that's your party, that's your team. It's kind of my logic around the whole MPs being able to cross the floor thing. I simply do not subscribe to that. Are there things in the Conservative Party that I can get behind? I think like at some point government needs to be held to a certain level of fiscal discipline. I think that certain left wing policies, as a person who was raised conservative, I think that certain progressive policies have gotten out of hand. Right? I think that certain there should be certain a little bit more punishment for crime. For example, those are all conservative ideas that I have. I do not think a person's background, especially when they proceed to go hurt somebody else, should be a factor in them serving punishment for what they have committed, right? If a person I mean it should be a factor, but it shouldn't be a reason to then go, okay, they're fine, they didn't they had a bad upbringing, so they're good to they're fine. Anyways, you, this gets me all riled up, so that's why I don't talk about it too much. Positive perspectives I have, right? But at the same time, as a person who is trained as a scientist, I know that climate change is real, right? I know that the world needs to transition to a more sustainable sources of energy, right? That's an example of a progressive perspective that I have. So and that is, I think that moderates are very very underrepresented, and maybe there's a chance that moderates will be better represented with a person like McCartney, because certainly he's not a Trudeau type of liberal, and he seems fairly close to what I would expect. Fairly close, not not one to one, but fairly close to what I would expect for of someone with some right wing ideals. Okay, and that is the hope I have with a person like McCartney, in my opinion. Okay. Last comment here. Fox Club said, with the plastic bag ban going, why are those plastic why are those plastic signs allowed? As against which type of sign? Would you like them to go into the woods and chop up some mass timber for the signs? I mean, I, you're trying to catch me out here, aren't you, Fox Club? I don't know what you're on about there, but it's okay. And you end up putting your thinking face there. But as I said, if I would like for the conservatives to bring somebody who is not part of the establishment to go up against a McCartney. I would like to see that. I think I think that would really elevate the prime minister's office again in this country after 10 years of the drama teacher that nobody seems to like these days. um, I mean, I would really like to see somebody who is accomplished out there, somebody with equal or comparable resume to a McCartney. I want to see that battle go down. I want to see an intellectual debate. I want to see an intellectual debate in this country. None of all this. Oh, that guy bad. I do better. I don't want to see that. I want to see an intellectual debate next time we go to the polls. Okay. Fluff said, "I'm just having fun, friend." Yes. Liv Busby says, "I think nothing we hear is black or white. Not an ad, but ground news is a good source to find the line in the middle." And that line in the middle, and this is an experience I've had quite a bit on this channel, where a lot of people expect me to they find it hard to place me in a certain side, because one minute they hear me criticizing Pierre Poilievre as I have done this week and say he's done, and the next minute they see me criticize McCartney, because I think no public servant is above critique, right? So I criticize them from the perspective of I expect a lot from them. Like McCartney, I think right now, if Polyev could have gotten out of his way this week, there was an opportunity for Polyev to ask some really serious questions of McCartney. Because think about it, McCartney, for the most part, has not really delivered on. I mean, 6 months after the election, we've just seen a budget, right? They've announced these nation building projects. I wanna start to see things improve. Where's our affordability at, right? I want to see that, right? Those are the things that matter to me. When I go to the grocery store and stuff is expensive, that is McCartney's job to deliver for me as a citizen who pays my taxes. That is McCartney's job to deliver for me. So I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, I'm attached to," and I think that is the perspective people should take. Enough of all this. Oh, you sit in one side, and no matter what the guy says is your guy. I think that is a shit way to consume politics, in my opinion. Anyways, okay, so Lift Busby says, just putting it out there if we're trying to find the balance somewhere in the middle. The balance is hard because even and I say this as a person who's out here giving my opinions on things. You should see some of the messages I get, some of the negativity that gets sent my way. Like people will go very very far with some of just because they believe in something, right? uh, it's hard to be a moderate out here. That's why you notice that there are not many YouTube channels. I'm probably the only the only one of those out here. I don't know if you guys know a channel that is moderate, that you watch. Maybe I'll collaborate with them. You can put their name in the comment section. Donald Lynn Marshall says, I remember when Peter McKay called Belinda Stronach a dog for crossing the floor. Oh yes, that might make people, him getting votes a bit of a problem. But yeah, there is that, I guess. So maybe Peter McKay should stay in media or whatever he's doing right now, and then not come back because he might get the Poilievre treatment where people actually like vote with in vengeance to try and keep him out of office. Uh, okay. Breva says gotta go. Thank you for joining. Okay, so it's been a fun show today. Fox Club said he had a crush on Belinda Stronach. Ah, all right, all right, that's interesting. Is um, where am I missing here? Liv Bosby says, I think it is easy to overlook Pierre asking for it, but it gets overlooked. I'm not sure what you mean. I might have lost the meaning of what you're saying there. But it is going to be an interesting week. It's going to be an interesting week because um, it is go- it is going to be an interesting week because the last of the McCartney's budget has passed two confidence votes in the House of Commons. um, McCartney's budget has passed two confidence votes in the House of Commons, and chances are it's going to pass. It's going to pass the third vote. And yeah, we'll see what happens this week. If, as I've said before, if there is one more floor crossing, I think it will be for those of you who really want to see Poilievre stay. I think it will be out of his hands at that point. If there is one more, if maybe I shouldn't say one more floor crossing because to be fair, General did not move to the Liberals, but if there are more floor crossings that lead to the Liberals getting a majority, I think that Pierre Poilievre is done. Okay, Live Busby, you guys are going back. You guys, you what? Live Busby says dogs are allowed to be MPs. Okay, I I want to say you guys are gonna make me say something very inappropriate. But anyways, that's the end of our hour today. If something super juicy comes out, I might come live again with you guys sometime between now and next Sunday. But if not, I'll meet you here next Sunday again. We're live every Sunday, as you guys know. Before I get out of here, I'm going to roll the credits real quick. Roll the credits. Thank you, Leave Busby, for your comments today. Flux Club, Braveheart. Who else was here? Who else was here? Tadeli. Donna Lynn Marshall. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all your comments today. Even the guy that insulted me, that was calling me names. By their words, believe them. Thank you for joining the live show today. The Mages, thank you. Who else am I missing? Who else am I missing? Brandon Smith. Brandon Smith, thank you for joining today on the live show. Adore Fashion, Jill Brown, James Sotirakis. Okay, I think I got everybody. If I missed you, I appreciate you. Oh, John Patterson, why would you do this to me? I was just about to leave. John Patterson, I got to get your comment though. John Patterson says if the Federal Conservative Party was divided into three separate factions, what percentage do you believe still supports Pierre Poilievre? John, I think you and Fox Club are caught from the same cloth. You guys like to draw questions on me at the last moment, just when I'm about to leave. Okay, I'll deal with this. I'll talk about this real quick because it's a great question. Actually, it's a brilliant question. I know Fox Club also wanted to talk about New York. Um, I mean, it's interesting that Mamdani won. Mamdani has all these. Mamdani, I'll talk about what you were asking about, John Patterson. Just give me a sec here. Mamdani, he seems interesting. Is he actually gonna do much? I don't know. He's got these grandiose ideas about freezing rent, about what else is he promising? About government-run grocery stores, those kinds of things. I think I would like to. I would give him some time. Obviously, it was time for New York to move away from Cuomo and from the other dude. I forget his name now. It was time for New York to move on and to find new leadership. Whether Momdani is going to turn out to be the rousing success, but he excites the people, and I'm excited for the people of New York. I want to see what actually happens there. But John asked me a brilliant question here, just to bring it back to Canada here. If the Federal Conservative Party was divided into three separate factions, what percentage do you believe still supports Polyev? I think that the current conservative, I think Polyev is the kind of guy that I think he retains probably up to maybe 70% of the support. I don't know how to put a percentage on it, but I think I will say this: Pierre Poilievre retains a lot of support because there are lots of people who are terrified of what would happen because they see how close. I say close, but they did lose by how many seats did they lose by? They lost by quite a few seats, right? But a lot of people see how close Polyev was in the last election, and they think, is there a guy that can get us that close? And that is really the major reason why I think a lot of people are still behind Polyev right now. They think if they have another run at it, that they might be able to take down Carney. Now, I do not believe, as I've said several times, that a team led by Pierre Polyev is capable of defeating the Carney liberals, Carney specifically, right? Just because in terms of policy, Carney seems to be continuously undercutting what Pierre Polyev is selling. Okay, and Carney seems to be moderate enough in his views that I think he retains the core of the support across the country, and I don't think that Pierre Polyev is going to beat him. Okay, um, but at the same time, the problem with Pierre Polyev is not really the fact that people support him and want to see him succeed. But apparently, his leadership style is one that seems to be, well, as evidenced by what you saw this week. I was I was watching an interview on the CBC today. Now, take this with a grain of salt, whatever. But Chris D'Entremont did an interview on CBC today and was talking about, I spoke about this earlier, talking about how he did not see the Conservative Party as a serious party. It almost felt like a frat house. and how he felt like Pierre Poilievre does not use his team as effectively as he should, which was one of the things that Don Tremont said he admires about the current Liberals, because he said he could see the fingerprints of several MPs on the budget that came out, right? So the problem that Pierre Poilievre has is not the fact that he retains support. I think he retains good support, um, but something is wrong there with the. I mean, this was something we noticed during the election period. Something is off there with his connection with his team. Something is off there, and so it's, as I've told you guys earlier, it's not about the support he retains. It's about going forward. What is the point? What is the point? If he's not able to defeat a Makani, why keep him? Right? Anyways, I've gone way over time, and I know some of you are on the East Coast, so I don't want you guys falling asleep on me. But thank you, John Patterson, for that comment. Join me next Sunday, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Oh, you scared me there, Fox Club. I thought I I thought you were about to pop a question in there again. I was like, no, I was almost free. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week. Take care.